how scummy somebody like that is. So they wanted him to know, we've been tracking you without a warrant. We'll do whatever we want. Anything else they told him? How did it end? They just dropped him off at home?
They dropped him off at home, and they were hesitant about, they got him, I think they got him out of the car, and then were slow to get his mobility apparatus out of the vehicle, and just said, why don't you want to tell us about the what preppers you know? And he said, I don't know anyone who's got more than a sink full of extra water. So, someone has a bunch of extra TP at their house. Does that qualify? I think he kind of got, I think
yeah, but what's incredible is they admit they're spying on people and doing that. But imagine not wanting to give some guy that's got, one of those little things that people that are hurt use to go around the grocery store. What do they call those little things you ride around on? I mean, the point is, these people are that low. I believe you. Now harassing handicapped people, and we're not going to give you your crutches back, old man. We're the good guys. Because that's what they want. They want criminals. They want criminals. Amazing. Well, there you go. Man, this country is land of the wolves, home of the sheep. And the wolves know what's for dinner. We'll be right back. Stay with us. If you just joined us, we were hearing a story out of Wisconsin where an older gentleman who rides around on one of those little rascal vehicles, his arm was hurt, and he didn't think he could drive home with it. And he was asking somebody for a ride, so two guys stepped forward and said, two strapping gentlemen said, we'll give you a ride. Then they started interrogating him, saying, do you know preppers? We don't like what you've been writing on the internet about the government. You better watch it. And, that could be a made-up story. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that every dentist my dad knows that he's talked to has been approached by Homeland Security to spy on their patients. It's totally illegal. And it's right out of the Soviet Union. And I do know that we have a big report at Infowars.com that Kurt Nimmo did with direct links to the Homeland Security documents, where Homeland Security is taking the DNA of children without parental consent through the public schools. They've already got several agencies doing it. Now they're expanding it. Department of Homeland Security prepares to grab DNA from kids. We went with that headline because the Electronic Frontier Foundation announced they're preparing to expand it. But then you actually learn since 2010, they've already been doing it. And they say your child has consent. Of course, legally they don't have consent, but they're giving them vaccines in California and other states saying you're going to get $20 if you take the shot. Now, do you sign the consent form? Well, I'm only 11 years old. My mommy, you ask my mommy? Mom, we don't ask mommy anymore. I mean, again, I had a guy on earlier using a fake first name. He wanted to come into the show, and I've known him for a while, and tell the whole story. I said, no, keep your sources. Don't burn bridges at this point. And, he was talking about how the police are finally going, wow, Alex Jones is right. The military's like, yeah, this is real. The contractors, a lot of them are saying no, because they're getting them out of these bases, and they're saying, all right, the mission is shifting from Hajis. This is word for word. And it is a pejorative term, but that's for documentary purposes. That's what they're calling them. We're shifting away from the Muslims, and we're shifting over to the good old boys. There's going to be a civil war in America. Well, you've heard all my other guests on this and seen the documents. And we're going to take them. We're going to get their guns. Are you ready for that? And it's also a way to assess who's awake and who isn't. And most of the people are saying no. But see, it doesn't matter. They're destroying the economy. And it'll be mercs leading foreign troops. And that's in the NLE-09 document, all of it. We're not in Kansas anymore. You notice the euro's melting down into globalist control. You notice that they're gearing up here. They're getting ready to have the derivatives meltdown, and they're going to sign us all on. They already have, but they're going to tell you, it's your fault. You got to give J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs everything you got. And the media is going to say, aren't we lucky we've got him? Ben Bernanke's a hero. Well, you've already seen him saying that. And they're going to raise your taxes. They're announcing they're going to have forced brigade work. You're going to have to go out and, dig ditches like the Soviet Union. And there's going to be riots as the welfare crowd goes crazy because their checks will still come. Just with inflation, they're not going to buy anything. And then you'll welcome the military coming to your area in the first wave. Then the terrorists are going to hit the military. Oh, the right-wingers or the patriot people that who said terrible things that were right about everything and actually were real Americans. And then, their leaders have to be arrested. Then the Civil War starts. Then people don't have a choice. And then the police and military will be defeated. In most areas, they will be sent into bunker-type facilities. They call it going to the mattresses. They're going to go into a fortress mentality, only venturing out to revenue generate and make drug deliveries. And they're just going to let the rest of the country rot and fall apart into civil war. Now, that's the globalist plan. I told you 4.5 years ago that I ended up talking to one of the richest women in the world on paper. She's actually poor compared to the real elite, but she's in the Forbes list. And she said, I'm leaving the United States. And I said, why? And she said, well, there won't be a United States. It's going to totally collapse from derivatives. And I said, and she was telling me this at the time. I didn't know who she was. She said, I own a defense company. I own this and that. And I'm looking at her. She's talking to me. I'm sitting there in this law office getting some paperwork done. She's sitting there telling me this. And she goes, I think you're going to be very successful. She winked at me. She goes, everything you're saying is dead on. You're going to be very successful if you live. You're going to be very big. You already are, I know, but you're going to be a household name all over the world. Never told the full story. And I'm sitting there listening to this. And I said, there's not going to be a U.S.? And she said, no, derivatives. It's going to be fully imploded. And I go, well, what isn't going to exist? She goes, you'll see. I go, what do you mean? She goes, everything you've been saying. They want this country to go under. And she said, I'm getting out of here. So I go home that day and type in her name. And the feds spy on me. They know I went and Googled her name that day. They could place the day. I don't remember. It was like 4.5 years ago. And there was her photo. There she was in the news. There she was and all the, and she's sitting there just telling me this. And I go, and it's a multi-billionaire woman. It's not like she was waiting on somebody. I guess she'd got there earlier and the lawyer wasn't there yet. One of these big giant law firms. And I guess she was just here locally dealing with a few properties. I guess it was high-rise buildings she owned or something. But liquidating U.S. holdings. I was just in a law firm because I thought I was getting messed around on the lease that I'd set up, so I was wanting to get a second opinion on that. I'm glad. You'd be surprised if you meet in lawyers' offices. The point is that I want to go to your calls. I just cannot telegraph to you how real this is and how bad this is. We can back this off. If we back this off, people say, oh, look, Alex said all this was going to happen and it didn't. Well, everything else I said up to this point's now happened. Re-education camps, secret arrest. And you're like, why are they announcing it? Because they got to get the military and police standing around going, well, I guess it's on the news. I guess it's all right. Yeah, the troops grow the opium. We got re-education camps, and we're going to arrest people that look like Hank Williams Jr. That's basically it. This is your new enemy. He is the Bubba. Literally. And people are like, that's me. I'm the new enemy? Oh, you're not the new enemy yet. And they're just assessing who's going to join us, and they're just getting their force ready. I mean, is there any end to this? Do we have to let all this happen? I was talking to the gentleman we had on earlier, and he was meeting with some police that are his friends. And they're like, yeah, Alex Jones is right about a lot of this, but he's still alarmist. But yeah, they asked us to do a lot of illegal stuff. We don't like it. I'm alarmist, but you're being asked to do illegal things. And every time Arte Saveda comes in here with his silver tongue, he just is so friendly and so nice. And, hey, gee, he doesn't know about any of this. Jeepers, creepers, Mrs. Haskell. I don't know anything about that. I want to go to David in Florida, listening on 810 AM WEUS. Then we'll go to Brian. David, you're on the air on the Big Ten out of Orlando, where we're #1. Go ahead, sir.
Thanks for taking my call, Alex.
Thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
First-time caller, long-time listener. I'd like to thank you for waking me up to the facts of what's going on with this country. And my call today is pertaining to our elected officials here in Orlando, mainly the sheriff.
Yes.
If you're a citizen and you elect these individuals, you should be able to correspond with them, either be email or phone calls. We have corruption in our local sheriff's office in Orange County, Florida.
No, there's no corruption in Florida law enforcement. Come on. Next, you're going to tell me that the moon orbits the Earth. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right. I tried to call the office of the sheriff, and I was denied access to his office. So I guess the people that vote for him are not allowed to speak to our elected officials.
So you were denied access to his private phone or into his general office?
Into his general office.
Well, I think that's illegal.
Well, the reason I was calling was because I had a issue of drinking a beer in a public park from over 12 years ago. I paid the fines 12 years ago. I even did a couple of days in jail for it. And 12 years later, I was arrested for it again. And I questioned it, and they said it was contempt of court. And I'm like, how can it be contempt of court when I've already did the time and already paid the fine?
Oh, yeah. This was in the LA Times last month. And a few weeks before that, I saw it in another big paper, I'm trying to remember, where there's computer glitches everywhere. That's like in the Terry Gilliam movie. What a genius. Brazil, a bug falls in the typewriter. And so it changes the name, and they go secretly arrest and kill an innocent guy. But again, that begs the question of tyranny. Everybody's innocent because you can't trust it to carry out enforcement of anything because it itself is bankrupt. But yeah, I saw some incredible number where in just L.A. alone, they arrest thousands of innocent people. I think it said every month. I'd have to pull the article up because the computers are all fried. And even it won't let you go to court, or it just says you have tickets you don't, and they just arrest you. Here's an example. I've gotten 2 registration stickers where it's not printed right and is off the... I got one like 2 years ago, and I got one this year. And I'm just waiting to get pulled over because you can't even see the numbers because all they are is just up on the edge because it was printed on the whole printout instead of the sticker itself. You know what? I want to hear more about this. Tell me the rest of the story when we come back because this is plaguing everybody. They're like, we don't care. The computer says it. You're going to jail. Goodbye. Ha ha. You know, Dave Mustaine's coming back into town this weekend to visit with me. Pretty good buddies. And I'm not name dropping. I just want you to know I might get him to do an exclusive interview on a bunch of issues. So look for that and a lot more on the InfoWars Nightly News this Friday and coming up Monday, 7 o'clock every weeknight. Okay, going back to the caller. In fact, guys, I meant to talk to you during the break, but my dad's actually here visiting, and I ended up talking to him. Will you type in something like innocent Californians being arrested under computer glitch or something like that? That was the last article I saw. But it's all over the country. And they accidentally say you owe more property taxes as well. And they accidentally say you haven't paid it and accidentally take your house and put it in a trust that government bureaucrats own. And then they keep it because they're criminals. I saw that in the news a few days ago. And Bank of America takes houses they never had a deed to that are paid for in cash that people have lived in for 12 years. That's CNN. It's an accident, though. Again, this is a criminal group. And as soon as we get that, just because they have the authority, because they're in charge, doesn't make them legal or lawful. So going back to David in Florida, so You were saying it's 10, 11, 12 years later. How many years later? You got arrested for drinking a beer in